do you want to have a journey through time with stunning views? Hello, awesome viewers! We are on one of the most magical spots in Prague. This is Vyšehrad. It's a place where history and mystery mix together. And imagine a fortress created on the top of the high cliff with 2 kilometers of panoramic views of the city below. I'm Olga, your cheerful tour guide from Kyiv, the capital of invincible Ukraine. Currently, I'm a refugee in Europe and I'm excited to share my journey with you on this channel. So here we are exploring the gorgeous European landmarks and delve into the fascinating stories that make these places unforgettable. Subscribe to my channel not to miss my live streams and adventures. Imagine a place that is a historical landmark and a park all rolled in one. Vyšehrad is translated as Upper City, and it's one of the first centers of the Czech state. It's even older than Prague Castle, and historians still debate which came first. But here what we know. In the 10th century, both these hills were already buzzing with life and activity, and actually they were laying the foundation for the beautiful city of Prague as we know it today. Vyšehrad is located on the top of the high cliff, and when you come here you really feel how history is unfolding in front of you, and probably you can even understand better the soul of Prague as the city. If you don't know the history, you might think it's just the local park with wonderful views, while in reality this is the place where Czech history was born, and it still lives here. So today we're diving into the captivating story of Vyšehrad Fortress in Prague. And this place is really a blend of military might, legendary tales, and serene beauty. Watch this video up to the end to see all the hidden gems of this timeless beauty. One of my favorite Vyšehrad legends is the legend about this beautiful princess. Her name was Libusha. So imagine we are here in Vyšehrad in the 8th century, and this beautiful princess Libusha is standing on the top of the majestic hill, and she is looking over the spreading Vltava river, and suddenly she had a vision. She dramatically declares, "I see a great city and its glory will rise to the stars." And just like that, Prague was born. Actually, no city planning, no committee needed, just a vision. So Vyšehrad was the original residence for the Czech princes of the Przemysl dynasty. Originally it was founded by Governor Czeck, who had 3 daughters, and the youngest was Libusha, and she was very beautiful, but she wasn't just blessed with the good looks, but she had a superpower of foresight. She was wise and fair, and she ruled after her father, Duke Czeck. However, people here were not happy with having female ruler. Instead, they wanted a man ruling them. And Libusha had another vision, she sent ambassadors to find her future husband. And they found Przemysl, which means the plowman, and together they started a royal dynasty. And in honor of this story, the bag and the shoes of this illustrious prince, Przemysl, were kept as the sacred relics here in Vyšehrad. And before the coronation, Czech rulers would travel here to bow to these shoes and bag in honor of their history. So this is the story, how this amazing princess tied the knot with a humble Przemysl, and this peasant had a strong royal potential because together they founded this Przemysl dynasty, and they were ruling here for more than 400 years. Back in the early 10th century, Vyšehrad and Prague Castle were equally fabulous and powerful. But Vyšehrad really hit its golden age under the king, whose name was Vratislav II. That was 11th century. So this Czech king, Vratislav II, made Vyšehrad his residence because he had disputes with his brother, who was the archbishop, and he had disputes with the church. So he decided just to pack up and to move his residence here to Vyšehrad. And during the glittering era of its existence, that was 11th century, in 1070, Vratislav II founded Basilica of St. Peter and Paul and the Rotunda of St. Martin. Czech coins were minted here. He also built the new fortifications and the magnificent Romanesque palace. And the chronicles say that this Romanesque palace could accommodate about 3,000 people. So that was kind of the ultimate medieval power hub, outshining even the Prague castle itself. The prince himself brought 12 baskets of stones for laying the foundation of the basilica. But like any great tale, things are changing over time, and Vratislav II's successors were not as enthusiastic as he was about this Vyšehrad project, so they preferred to stay in Prague Castle. Gradually, the significance of Vyšehrad royal residence declined. By the end of the 11th century, Vyšehrad's star started to fade. But the story doesn't end there, because there was famous King Charles IV, and he had grand plans for the Prague as the residence of the Holy Roman Empress. So he was busy with modernizing the Prague Castle, he was building iconic Charles Bridge, Karlstein Castle, but he didn't forget about his roots. He was the proud descendant of Przemysl dynasty, and he wanted to honor the Vyšehrad's legendary past. So he ordered the reconstruction of the royal palace, and he added some new fortifications here. By the 14th century, Vyšehrad had transformed into the formidable military fortress. Most of its grand buildings were repurposed into the military use, and it was transformed as the stronghold of the city. During the 30 Years' War, this fortress suffered from the Swedes. Then it was rebuilt in the 17th century as the Baroque military fortress with a citadel and 2 gates. And now I'm going to show you this majestic entrance to this historical fortress, and you will see this formidable gates, because despite of its grandeur as the kind of king's residence, Vyšehrad has a special vibe that it just screams about resilience. When you will be walking on the top of that kind of hill or rock, you will see the huge walls everywhere, and it's all about resilience. Now let's explore the majestic entrance to this historical complex and its formidable gates. When you are approaching Vyšehrad, you can really hear how this huge space is screaming about resilience. Let's have a closer look at these gates. We're entering through Tabor gates. They were built in 1640. And check out the thickness of these walls. I'm not sure, but I can tell that they are very strong, and I can presume that they belong to the thickest, one of the thickest walls in Europe. Like other medieval fortresses, Vyšehrad was built with a two set of walls. And usually the gap between the walls was quite small, about 20 meters. Enough space to collect taxers, probably like to have a checkpoint. But here, the distance between the Tabor Gate and Leopold Gate is about 200 meters. And by the early Middle Age standards, you could fit a whole city in here. But instead, they packed it with the garrison of archers, and they were ready to defend this fortress. Here is a trick. These archers, they had a secret weapon, and the weapon was living just below the bridge. Bears. Bears lived nearby or below the structure, below the wooden bridge, and sometimes you can see the entrance to their den here. So, what was the plan? If the enemy forces tried to storm the gates, the archers would rain arrows down on them. If that didn't stop the attackers, people would shake the wooden bridge. And that, of course, will cause the wooden attackers fall below the bridge, and the bears will finish them. They will have them for lunch. That was the grisly and quite innovative defense mechanism. So here behind me you can spot the small entrance to the bears' den. And by the way, bears who were guarding the castles was pretty common practice in Bohemia back then. And even today, some castles are keeping bears for the tourists so they can come and see how the things were happening centuries ago. But this practice is currently changing, and starting from 2030, this will be changed, and all the castle bears will be relocated to the zoos. So if you want to see the castle bear, you need to hurry. Prague, as we know it today, was formed in the 18th century. And before that, it was kind of a collection of separate towns. And each town was competing to be the best. They had their own cathedrals, central squares, market, kind of noble places. And these towns were usually divided by the fortress walls, ditches, and sometimes they had observation towers. But in the 18th century, the walls came down and the center of Prague was unified into the fabulous city we know it today. Vyšehrad officially became the part of Prague in 1884, and before that it was like this little village with its own market square, the town hall, and it had its own unique vibe because residents here were living their quiet life separate from the hustle and bustle of the old town of Prague. So you can imagine such a small community, just stone's throw from the big city. Let's discover Prague's oldest survivor, Rotunda of St. Martin. I hope you're ready for the travel back in time because we are exploring the oldest surviving structure in the city, and it's hidden here in Vyšehrad. Long before the city was draped in beautiful Gothic and Baroque grandeur, religious services in Prague were held in the humble Romanesque basilicas and in the charming rotunda churches like this. You can see the typical Romanesque style, thick walls, small windows, and among these ancient treasures, the Rotunda of St. Martin really stands out because it was built more than 900 years ago in the 11th century, and actually it has seen it all. Like in the 15th century it was sacked by the Hussites. In the 17th century it was used as the powder tower storehouse, and during the 7 Years' War in the 18th century, exactly in 1757, a cannonball struck the wall of this rotunda, but the walls here are about 1 meter thick, and it's just shrugged off all the trials like a seasoned survivor. But it's not just the age that makes Rotunda of St. Martin so special, but rather the stories that are hidden behind its walls. According to legend, this ancient building is guarded by a ghost of a kind old man, and no one knows who he is, but it is known that he is like the ultimate good Samaritan. He is always ready to help those people who are needing his hand or ghostly present. The story of this tower is that in the heyday of its existence, the rotunda was offering a shelter to the people of all walks of life. And one legendary story involves a rather unsavory character. So he was a thief and he liked to drink alcohol, and he had a family with kids. His wife prayed here to Saint Martin so her husband could change his ways. And one day he was indulging in his usual misdeeds and he fell off the cliff. There are a lot of cliffs all around me, and he broke both his hands. And actually he claimed that he was pushed by an old man and he didn't fall because he was drunk. Miraculously, he decided to change his life, and he just left his crime history behind. So the family lived happily ever after, thanks to this divine intervention, or possibly a gentle nudge from a very special friend. If you're curious to uncover more of these ghostly, quirky legends of Vyšehrad, you can check out my special video dedicated to the mysteries of this place. Now it's a peaceful place for Prague locals, but when you come here you might find the secret observation decks with stunning views of Vltava River and the remains of what is whimsically called Libuscher's bath. And legend has it that Princess Libuscher and her friends would gather here to have a bath and some fun with men. But if they didn't like the lover, they would throw him down to water through the secret hatch. But don't worry, our resilient plowman Przemysl managed to avoid the hatch and won Libuscher's heart. Some historians claim that actually these are not busts, but these are the remains of the medieval fortress defense. But I like to think about the structure as the medieval equivalent of splashy rejection. Thank you so much for buying me coffees. I'm grateful for your constant amazing support, because each cup of coffee you're sending to me gives me the energy and inspiration to bring my ideas to life. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like button if you are passionate about history and traveling. And on my channel you can expect extraordinary stories and the mesmerizing European landmarks. See you next time. Bye.